Hey everyone, Katie and Sergeant Steele here, and today this is a special video where I want to talk to you about the October 2024 Munitorum Field Manual updates, along with the FAQ and erratas and just some other stuff that they've updated here for the rule set for 10th edition Warhammer 40k as it relates to the Astra Militarum. So let's dive in. First thing we're going to do, if you haven't seen this yet, I think this is awesome. So they've updated the website, and it's so much easier to navigate the downloads and to find information. So please check out warhammercommunity.com and look at all this information right now. You can sort by recently updated or just the indexes themselves or core rules and key downloads. And it's got these nice little drop-down menus. Imperial Armor has its own thing. Look, they actually put dates at the bottom here that shows you when the last update was. It's all really nicely done, and I really appreciate it. But into the changes. First thing, there is a new Imperial Armor for the Astra Militarum. Now, I do not know if there are any real rules changes in this document. Why? GW really doesn't have a good system yet for tracking those. I know there's supposed to be the index reference, and we'll look at that in a moment, but it really doesn't cover some of their subtle datasheet changes. Just like earlier this year when I got surprised with the Crassus getting an increase to its transport capacity. And this time around, there were some other changes that I'll talk about, which are not referenced in the index records for what changes were made. But what they did do here, which is really cool, is they have consolidated the two Imperial Armors into one. That's great. We no longer have two PDFs for the Forge World models that we would want to use in the army. I think the sad part of that is we're probably about to lose most of these. We know our codex is on the horizon. This is the fall of 2024, and we know in January 2025 we will see a new Astra Militarum Codex. So with that, we are likely, just like all the other armies, to see a cut to our Forge World range. But this document was updated, I think, simply to merge everything. But let me know in the comments down below if you found any changes. Because this is a whole new PDF, I can't just do the Adobe built-in like PDF comparison. Because it does track changes between them, and I won't be able to do that since this is a whole new document essentially with the two merged. All right, on to the indexes, FAQ, and errata. Now this should be where we see all the changes listed to our data sheets, but it doesn't always work that way. It's why one of my biggest frustrations with the way they do the rules updates. But I still appreciate that they do this. This is very easy to read through. So let's talk about what changed for the Guard that we know of. So first things first, the red text are the new items. And so we can see here, there's a change to the voice of command rule. And it says orders cannot be issued to battle shocked units. And if a unit being affected by an order is battle shocked, that order ceases to affect the unit. So they just clarified the language a little bit about, you can't order a battle shocked unit. And really, I kind of thought that was the intent, and that's how I played it. But if you didn't, now it's much clearer. The other thing about this kind of change is it still keeps commissars relevant. So if you want to disembark, say, right, an officer, or bring them in from strategic reserves, at which point, at the end of your movement phase, you can then issue an order. If you have the commissar, then that means at the end of your, because I think it's at the end of any phase, the commissar's rule is you can, basically get the unit back in line after destroying a model, and then they pass their battle shock test. I really should actually double check that rule, because you all always call me out when I get rules wrong. None of us use commissars hardly, except as like little runarounds to just grab objectives or do little tasks and so forth. But with that, just keep in mind that your commissar could be important to making sure a unit is eligible to then receive an order if you do have orders coming in later during your turn after a unit may have been battle shocked. Or perhaps they were battle shocked because the enemy did something to you to instigate that battle shock. And then at the end of the phase, your commissar can then unbattle shock that unit, and then you might be able to issue an order. But usually that only happens when a unit is set up on the battlefield. And we normally don't have to worry about that with destroyed transports because everything's automatically battle shocked. So you wouldn't be able to do that. But it could happen, maybe say in your opponent's command phase, and we have the stratagem to issue an order. But say it got battle shocked during your turn somehow. There's several ways, it could happen. Natural rules versus unit abilities. And if it does occur, then you would need a commissar to unbattle shock that unit, and then you could issue the order, right? So there are some hypotheticals here that could apply, and something to keep in mind. I think it keeps commissars relevant in our game. They did change also officer model for Grand Strategist, that in your command phase, the bear can issue one additional order in each battle round. Thought that was already clear because it was like in your command phase. Well, your command phase happens once in the battle round, but they just added a clarification there. I think it maybe also clarifies a little bit that how many orders you can issue per turn, which is something that I think they have covered in a previous FAQ. And then they have a bunch of stuff here. One of the changes that we will see is that they've made a change to Gaunt's Ghost to make sure it's sustained hits 1 and not just sustained hits. Okay. For, Ron's Las Carbine. So that's really nice that, just clear. But then one of the big changes is the tank commander. It gained the keyword squadron. Now, this is very important. Pre-codex, in order to gain our detachment ability, you have to have either the regiment or the squadron keyword. Well, now it's got squadron, so that means our tank commander can now get the ability to do lethal wounds against monsters and vehicles since it is squadron. That is really great, especially if you're running Demolisher Leman Russ, or Battle Cannon Leman Russ, Executioner, Exterminator, all those, Vanquisher, you now get lethals. That's always an added bonus, and that's on all your weapons for that unit. So really cool. Always like having that. That also now means, which is one of the coolest parts, tank commanders can order themselves. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, well, but the tank commander could just order a better tank like the Demolisher +1 to hit. Why does the tank commander need to give itself orders? First off, there are always special circumstances. There are always times during our games when we need to think tactically out of the box. That could be maybe your tank commander needs move, that extra 3 inches of movement without advancing to be able to get to an objective or to get to a certain point and perform its shooting attacks so that you can score points or so you can advance your agenda in the game. And those are things we shouldn't count out. Maybe you need the +1 objective control because looking at what your opponent has on objective versus what your tank commander might be able to do, and it's the only unit around may be able to do that because your opponent has killed off your infantry or something else, then that could be a benefit, right? There are multiple reasons why you may issue different orders to different units. And the more flexibility we have, the better. So this is a huge benefit to being more tactically flexible on the battlefield. They've also FAQ'd the tank commander's death befitting an officer ability. Once again, kind of making that very clear. And they've also done some FAQ here around the, officers, inspired command stratagem, and so forth. So read these, check them out. This is how I was already playing all these, so it makes sense. And they also did clarify, which is, you all know, if you watch my YouTube channel and you saw my post a while back, I did a poll actually, do you think the Scout Sentinels during recon ability negates the can never hit on anything better than a 4-up? And they have clarified that it does not negate that. I always like clarity. You all, we did a poll. I agree with you all, but it's always nice to just have that clearly written out. Now we have it. So that's kind of cool that they've clarified that as well. And can the Kazrakin be affected by 3 orders at once with Ursula Creed's ability? No. Also, how I was already playing it. So I think that's very fair. So that's all the changes here that we can see. So nice kind of, I do like this document for the most part. It's got stuff in it, but sometimes there are changes that slip through the cracks. I think specifically with Imperial Armor. So that does happen. And so just something to keep in mind. Let's dive into points. Points are really where a lot of this matters. And so first things first, Bulgrin have gone up. They've gone up a spicy 20 points per 3 models. And that really kind of knocks the air out of them a little bit. They're still a very effective unit. They're extremely resilient. And so people are probably still going to take them. They just may not be taking 18 of them in a single list. And honestly, if we're just spamming everything that's good, that makes for less interesting lists, that makes for less interesting play and matches. So I do appreciate that they've kind of, evened this out. Maybe it's a little too heavy-handed. Only time will tell. All we can do is speculate. And so we'll see what happens in competitive play and what people are running. It's still one of our most resilient infantry options, though. Field ordnance batteries went down from 110 to 100 points. I love it. I love it. I feel like that is a comfortable amount of points for a 12 wound unit that can put a lot of shots downrange and shift enemy models, especially with its bombast field gun, or you can take those heavy las cannons, which can be pretty nasty. But those, you just got to be a little careful, and you got to kind of make sure you position them well to be a threat down firing lanes, catch enemy vehicles, blast them away before they get you. And that's part of the trick. Heavy weapon squads went down. Okay, that's I like it. I think they were not great before, and so seeing this kind of makes me, question whether or not I'd be taking autocannons and more mortars or las cannons and heavy weapon squads. Do I want to pack them inside of chimeras? you could pack them into a Doomhammer, for those of you who just watched my recent unit review video. Maybe so. Or just put them in terrain and have them there near a friendly platoon unit so they can get their overwatch ability. Really cool. So the points reduction kind of helps you consider that and make it more likely. 50 points, it's all right for what they do. It's very good. Next is Ogrins. I did not expect this. If you asked me what units they were going to reduce in points, I would not have picked Ogrin. So they have gone down. They're now 60 points for 3 models and 120 for 6 models. Excellent. I love Ogrins, and actually my recent competitive league that I was in at my local hobby shop, I took Ogrins in nearly every list inside of a Crassus. They would jump out. From the Crassus, they'd get the reroll wound rolls. They would also get, because it's shooting closest target, the extra -1 AP. Then my Exterminator would grant them another, Exterminator would get them an extra -1 AP as well. So it'd be shooting tons and tons of shots. And Strength 5, -3 AP, flat 2 damage. And the Space Marines I was playing against just went poof. Just out of existence. It was great. I love Ogrins, so I'm glad to see them get some love. I don't think they needed a points drop, but I'm okay with it as well. Next, Scout Sentinels went down. They went down. They were already really good. They're really, really good. Listen, I don't believe in you have to have auto-include. Auto-include, I think if you're thinking that way, it can be problematic. It can limit your creativity, can limit your list building. And then if you get stuck in that mentality, and depending on your meta, and you're like, I don't know why I'm not winning matches. I don't know why I'm not performing well. I don't know why I'm capturing key objectives and so forth. And part of that might be because of the way you're thinking about those auto includes, right? I don't believe Leontis is an auto include. I believe he's really beneficial. He brings a lot to the table. Doesn't make him an auto include. Scout Sentinels now. 55 points a model. 55 points? Holy cow, this is the closest we get to an auto include. Like, that is phenomenal. They buff everything in the army. That's why they're nearly an auto include. Everything benefits from their daring recon ability. And they have really good toughness and wounds, and they got a decent save. They got excellent movement. Well, so why not take Scout Sentinels? What's because you're, I don't know. Because you just hate vehicles. I don't know why you wouldn't take them. They're a lot of fun too. I just painted up 3 more. That's how much I like them. So this is fantastic. Card players rejoice. Throw your Scout Sentinels into your lists. Lastly, Tank Commander went up. Tank Commander went up in points to 225 points. And so I think, as we talk about, like, say, Leontis, right? If you weren't heavily relying on Leontis to order your vehicles, then you were probably taking a Tank Commander with Grand Strategist. Well, they've now upped it to 225 points base. That's before you even add Grand Strategist on top of that. So if you're doing a Tank Commander with Grand Strategist, it's 245 points as of right now. If I'm remembering that correctly, it's 20 points for Grand Strategist. So that's a decent chunk of points. But you get lethals, you get more flexibility with your orders. So the Tank Commander did get better. That's all the point changes. There are no point changes for our Forge World units. There rarely is, but I also think because they may be axing many of them soon, which makes me sad. I do enjoy playing those a lot. So we'll see what happens with those. But I think the point changes were pretty minimum to guard. We saw a couple up. We saw mostly them go down. Some of this is a little bit confusing, like Scout Sentinels and Ogrins. But hey, cool. And I think it all came out in the wash. And I think we came out really well. I'm very happy with where the points generally are right now. There's a couple models I might still advocate for a reduction in points, right? But generally, this is looking pretty good for our army. First off, the Aegis defense line still needs to go down by like 30 points. I actually like the Aegis defense line. I think it's just its points is the only reason I don't take it regularly. I did run it in my competitive league. I don't recommend that. I really don't, and I normally wouldn't say that about a unit, but don't run that in your competitive league. But it's great for casual narrative play, pickup games, does awesome, really good. So, but a few other things I might look at. I think this is also, remember, this is our last points update before the codex drops. So some of these changes might be getting us ready for the new codex. That's just speculation, and I think that's an interesting thing to speculate. So we'll see what happens. Other thing, we did get an updated set of data cards, but I think it's mostly because the Tank Commander got the squadron keyword. So there shouldn't be any other changes in here. They didn't list any. So just, take a look at this and notice, see if you find anything else, but I think that's it. So that's all the changes we have to Astra Militarum. So overall, I think this was pretty good for us. I think we fared pretty well, and all these changes were reasonable or needed. One of the two. So this is really nice that we can kind of get this stuff in here and continue to balance the game. Games Workshop has been doing an amazing job of that, and we've seen more balance in 10th edition than we ever have. And I say that as somebody who started playing heavily in 7th edition, and I remember how extremely unbalanced the game was. And it was so bad, and it was so unfun that nearly everyone I know in those last 6 months was quitting the game. And now, Our problem is too many rules changes are frustrating folks, but those changes are there to clarify things and to balance things. And that's one of the things we asked for, right? We wanted a balanced game. This is an extremely hard game to balance, and they're doing their best. So I am kind of taking up for GW and all this. I think there's some things they can do differently. I would actually like for the core rules changes and the core rules and the FAQ and erratas around the core rules to all be in the rules commentary document, to actually all be one document with just chapters in it that we can search and go through. Is that too much to ask for? But I think that's something I would really like to see them do. I'm tired of looking at 4 different documents to check what the current standards are for the rules. And I'd even like, because they're PDFs, clickable links that would just take you to one section to the other. You know, what if you went to the shooting phase stuff and there were links to the rules commentary section of the shooting phase? That'd be cool. So you'd be like, oh, well, here's what it says about shooting core rules. Let me go see how they clarify a few of these things in these kind of rare or odd interactions. And we dive down into it. I think that's really cool. If that's something they would implement later, I'd be very happy about that. And that would make my life a lot easier too. But overall, good. And I'm enjoying it. And I think this is nice. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the Codex has in store for us, because that's what's next. We'll also see a balanced data slate this December. They've already stated that we'd see one before the end of the year. So mid-December, we'll probably see a balanced data slate with another set of potential point changes. Probably not many, given they just did this one, but that'll be their prep before the Las Vegas Open coming in January, which I like that they're doing that because it gives those competitive players and even casual players in the 40K friendly at the LVO and so forth plenty of time to get the updated rules and prepare for that event, because it may impact what models they paint or what armies they bring. So I think this is a good thing for Games Workshop to do. Nobody runs giant, massive events in December typically. It's just too hard for attendance. So it's nice to see them kind of doing that. So we have more to look forward to. And so just keep an eye out for that, and we'll see what happens. One last thing I just want to talk about real quick. If you don't know yet, I do have a new merchandise store. So there will be a link in the video description below. So check that out. If you want to support me, this is the best way to do it. I don't have subscriptions. I don't have memberships or anything. I don't charge for anything other than if you want a product. And I have cool things like a hobby apron. I got a mug. I got a little cap. And then I also got a shirt, which is also an olive drab, by the way, because I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's actually a shirt I'm wearing right now. Like these. Oh God, they fit so well. They're soft. I really like them. So check this out. I've just got it back. I just got this new one up and running. So I'll be adding stuff as time goes on. So just be patient with me. If you have suggestions, put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear that. I'd actually love to know what you all would like to see on here. I do also plan to put some of my own custom stuff on here. So this new web store allows me to like upload, say like if I wanted to make a PDF of custom things, and then you all like pay, I don't know, $1 to get access to that, then you could. I could do things like that, like put digital documents up there, and I'm thinking about it. I think that might be a lot of fun. And I could share some of my cool kind of narrative resources with you all in that way, and that'd be a way you could support me. Or maybe I need to finally start like a tip jar thing or something. I don't know. Some of you are really nice. I really appreciate all the love and support. Amazing community. I appreciate you all so much. You're absolutely amazing. But definitely comment down below what you think about these changes, about the stuff going on with the Astra Militarum right now, and maybe some of your speculations for the new codex. I'd like to hear that too. I think that could be fun, especially after we've seen the recent point changes here and so forth. So let's chat about it a little bit. And so let's have a little chat down below. So comment down there, and let's engage as a community. I really appreciate it. All right, that's it for today. So as always, have fun wargaming. And remember, Cadia stands.